She's been here for a month. And you're only telling this to me now. Look, I'll be honest. It was my idea. I kinda figured. Look, we have a plan though. You were able to summon your Keyblade, right? Yeah? Okay, yeah, that's perfect. This is what we'll do, and this plan is simple. No one in the organization likes our leader. Onyxt has been in talks with Jamie about it. Who thought that was a good idea? Will you listen, okay? I understand it's like a big fucking deal with you, as it with me as well, considering the past, but you got to let it go. The past? Let it go? Newsflash, asshole. I don't remember the past. You guys have all these memories, you barely explained any of it and dropped this bombshell on me. You and Onyxt were me, and for me to be later found out that that was me is a whole thing entirely by itself. Plus the entire organization's on me, except some one girl I don't fucking know about. What's going on with all of that? You don't realize how much this affects you. I don't realize how much this affects me. You have the baggage, not me. She's important. No, she's not. She has direct ties with you. I don't know her. What will get you to help me? To help us? Nothing. Fine. You want to do that? Oh boy, Marineman. We meet once again. Oh, this fucking guy again. Marineman. However shall we do this? Fight me or release me. But do not waste my time with talk, Chad. Oh, but Marineman, there's much to talk about. Jamie has this big plan for you, for me, for all of us, and I'm really excited. Other than what you guys have told me before, I don't know a Jamie. Oh, don't be that way. You loved her so much back in the day. Whatever happened between you two? Surely you remember. No, surely I do not. Anyway, it doesn't matter if you remember or not. What is true though, our leader is enacting the final shape. Or, to put it simply, he's trying to summon Kingdom Hearts. The fake Marineman? Ah, now I got your attention. How do I stop him? Chad, I found you. Oh no, bro. Now, Marineman. The last time I saw you was in that nightmare. You are real. Yes, I am real. And what is also real is the power of Kingdom Hearts. Soon I will use its power to shape reality to my liking. And what would that reality look like? Success. Simply just success. I would have everything. Fame, fortune. That's it? You want to use the power of Kingdom Hearts to shape a reality where you're on top. Exactly. Except this reality will have everyone who wronged me be perished. Yeah, there's the red flag. Let me introduce myself to you. My name is Lee. I'm just you from yet another universe. Really? I couldn't tell. Sarcasm. Very funny. You may need friends if you want to stand a chance against me. My beloved organization cowers in fear against my power. Surely, even if they can't compete, you have zero chance as well. You're just one guy. You don't even have the organization at your back to help you. Fuck them. I don't need anyone weighing me down. If you do wish to stop this final shape, then play a shitty game. Nah, not this time. Play the game where it concludes its story in a 10-year saga. Destiny 2. Complete its DLC. Then meet me again. I'll be waiting, Marineman.
Yours will be criticizing me. Ours will be criticizing you. Ours will be harder on myself. You'll never know how I truly have felt. Makes you wanna say, this thing really does suck ass. Makes you wanna say, even things from the past. Makes you wanna say, this is the worst thing I have seen. Makes you wanna say, what the fuck, Marine? What the fuck, Marine? What the fuck, Marine? What the fuck, Marine? What the fuck, Marine?
Okay, how do I get you caught up in the quickest manner possible? Well, the Shadow Legion invaded Earth, and we took care of that. Then there was a whole season where a high fish god or something told us about the Witness's history, which turned out that he's actually a whole civilization of people. That's great. We banished the hive god Severe Wrath and made her mortal by turning Erismorn into a hive god for a couple months. Then Riven returned and let Crow wish for a way into the portal that the Witness left in Lightfall by wishing he could say sorry to Cade. Because, you know, he killed him when he was Aldrin. For the final mission of Season the Wish, Crow met up with Cade and the Final Shape DLC then begins.
You died. So did you. Yeah, I don't have to call you Prince anymore, do I?
The intro cutscene shows what the final shape really is. A perfect stillness, except for what the Witness deems worthy. The Witness feels like searching for your purpose in life? It's a bad thing. Because he, or it, the thing, the Witness feels like all beings have become slaves to it, or something. The Guardian, Ikora, and Zavala, which is now played by Keith David, launch themselves into the portal. So far, your Guardian makes it through. We have no clue on the status of Ikora or Zavala. In this realm of pinkness, you'll see familiar places such as hive structures and the multiplayer church. Eventually, you reach a Station of Awakening-like area, no fucking joke, as you progress into this hole. You start to form the area around you. Then you reach the outskirts of the Lost City. It is said whoever is in the Traveler, their memories manifest as physical here. And this includes the Witnesses. As you take down enemy types of all factions, you run into a well of power. You commune with it and get a prismatic subclass. We'll get into game mechanics and prismatic later. You fight a boss, then the cutscene plays. You find Cade. He explains his experience of coming back to life and more of what the Witness wants. Perfect stillness, end of all things, etc, etc. You talk with Ghost and he says that Cade is made of pure light, which will come into play later. The next mission, you go into an Evergrow, whatever it is, and you look for Crow as the Witness explains it offered Crow a kingdom over the Awoken and his sister's love. But Crow chose pain, which is concerning. What does that mean? But you find him listening to a statue. These statues are littered around the game, even before the Final Shape DLC. Crow's ghost tells him to stop listening to it. We all then set up camp, Mars looking the way into the Pale Heart. We find out about this through radio. But most importantly, your ghost is kinda crap, and he tells you not to worry about it. Well yeah, the source of all my light powers. Cracked, damaged, in need of repair. That's a little concerning. Moving on, you go looking for Ikora. You find her ship and she leaves behind a radio stating that she's going to commune with the Traveler. You find her, she basically says she has no luck with that, at all. Then she explains what the fellowship would be achieved by. It would be achieved by using the Traveler's light, and the witness will freeze you in the perfect stillness or whatever reality it chooses for you. Can you imagine that? Like, what if the witness tracked me in a moment where I shat on Brady's floor, or when I wet the bed, or even worse, in a moment where I needed to go to the bathroom but there was none nearby? Imagine crowning for an eternity. Back at camp, Ikora meets up with Cade for the first time. To say the least, she's overwhelmed. She says it's too much. Cade promises to make up for it, and by it, I mean dying. Cause he died. She hugs him. Unto finding Zavala, you find a house at the end of a mission. You fight enemies and finish them off, and then a cutscene plays. He says goodbye to his wife, who is a statue in this case. He's broken, beaten, and after saying goodbye, he meets up with Cade and Crow. He hugs Cade. Crow gives a rundown of Amanda's death. Cade then says something like, you gotta move on. Then everyone gets up awkwardly for some reason. It's kind of confusing. Everyone is back together. To the next mission! The ice climbing mission. Crow tells Cade that he wished them alive again by a Aramkara. Remember Riven? But now Cade knows, so we're going to keep this a secret between the three of us. Ikora and Zavala won't know about this. Nothing I deem too important to the story happens here, up until where the Traveler grants you a new super. One of the few hype moments in the DLC. Zavala is slowly turning into a dick though, because he saw a vision of the statue that Crow saw. Ikora states that the grief that he's experiencing is being weaponized. Then Zavala lashes out and is actually mad.
What do you know about grief and desperation? Except how to turn it off.
That's not fair.
Jesus, Zavala. Crow tries to settle things down and says we can find ways to commune with the Traveler. You think this would be like the moment in Witch Queen where there's false tension between Ikora and Eris Morn? Remember that? No, this actually leads up to something, which is actually surprising. So then, you go on a couple Lost Sector runs and try to commune with Fishers of Light. They're all fucking corrupted, except for one, which is guarded by a friendly Hive Guardian. This was something I hoped for in the Witch Queen DLC, but all we got was Finch, a friendly Hive Ghost and World Vendor. Cade communes with it and meets up with Sundance, his deceased ghost. She speaks. Devotion, bravery, sacrifice, and then death. They also speak about what comes from the light must return to the light, and we're all connected. Cade learns here that he makes his own fate. Later, Zavala continues to question his faith in the Traveler. He says it demands death, but Tard says if it did, he would not exist to raise Zavala, which is ironic considering future stuff. Next is a strike. The best way I can sum this up story-wise is Zavala is becoming really annoying, and his lack of faith in the Traveler and his crybaby complaining, especially at the end of the strike, somehow turns a beloved character into a less likable one in one mission alone.
Give yourself to darkness. Only there will you find the answers you seek. This is the first concrete, actionable lead we've had since we arrived.
What about Cade's vision? We should follow the path the Traveler has laid for us.
How are we supposed to do that, when all it gives us is more riddles? Devotion, bravery, sacrifice. What does that even mean?
I don't know, but the Traveler wants you alive.
No! You do! That's what you want, Ikora. You once told me that to do nothing is cowardice. And now, you'd rather lose everything than to risk making the wrong move. But you aren't even thinking about that. You're just afraid to lose me like we lost Cade. Commander, you're out of line! Stay out of this! You weren't there. You don't know what happened when you died on us.
You're right. I can't lose you, Zavala.
Someday you will. And you'll have to learn to live with that.
I don't get it. I know I only have played Shadowkeep until now, but I feel like I have an okay understanding what Zavala's character is. He's a loyal leader who has faith in the Traveler and does things with a plan. So imagine my personal frustration when he goes through an entire mission where he abandons his ghost confronts the darkness alone, mind you, with no plan, no backup, and also faces the witness alone. That's the entirety of this mission. He went out, seeked answers from the darkness, which is understandable because the one message we got from the light, i.e. Sundance, led to more questions. So you track down Zavala, he gives into darkness. They basically say what is made in darkness can be unmade in darkness, they being the statues. Targe goes in to save Zavala from the witness. Then the witness destroys Targe, taking Zavala's light with him, putting Targe in the fridge. Like Amanda Holiday, this death seemed unwarranted. Other than fitting the theme of what Sundance said, Targe sacrificed himself so Zavala could survive. But this just feels off to me. They had to achieve this by breaking Zavala's character, or at least my understanding of Zavala's character. To my knowledge, we didn't get to know Zavala's ghost until this DLC, or at least I didn't, so this feels like they fridged a character. I would have liked to see a more Targe, but no. Fuck me, I guess. Then, the final mission before the raid. What bothers me the most story-wise about this mission is that Zavala seems back to normal and almost unfazed by Targe dying. I guess when they laid off all those people, they laid off the good writers too. So much for keeping the right people. Anyways, you fight all the way up to the witness, you destroy statues that are in the darkness to deal damage, and the ghost realizes what is made in darkness can be unmade in darkness. The veiled statues is the civilization of people that the witness shaped up to make himself, and then finally, killing all those people or destroying the statues rather, unmakes the witness. But you only destroy 3 statues out of an army here. Once you do that, the witness falls back to the raid Salvation's Edge. Alright, rant time. Other than the raid time gating or event gating the end of the DLC, I haven't heard any thrilling story aspects that came out of it. I tried watching the raid, but streamers were too concerned with someone looking at their streams and finding strategies to pass them up in the raid race. So what they did, they would censor parts of the screen or the whole screen in some cases, and muted the gameplay audio and commentary audio. I don't know, I guess what bugged me the most about these people, they still had about 70,000 idiots sitting at a black screen with no audio. Can you say ad revenue scam? Like, it should be against TOS on Twitch to do that. I don't think any rules for the raid race should change to this new fucking problem. I understand supporting your favorite creator in the raid race, so they can get a belt for once, I guess. But when it comes to blank screens and muted audio, even censoring buffs and debuffs, bro, just end the stream and record it offline. You don't need the stream to get world's first confirmation. The few streamers that I did come across that were doing this was Astacross, Dado, and Salty Greppo. And you know what? They didn't even win. So what the fuck is the point? The raid almost took a full day, 19 hours and 58 minutes, making the longest day 1 raid race since Last Wish, which took 18 hours and 49 minutes. It is good that Bungie made a good raid for once. Grueling Nightmares was a ad clear fest, with the only encounter that was good in my opinion was being planets. So just like the last few Destiny 2 reviews, we won't go in depth into raids. What we will go in depth into is the campaign mechanics, which entails me taking you through the campaign again, but on a mechanical level and not a narrative one. Meaning, we're only halfway through this review. Great. For the most part, the campaign is strictly linear, meaning there's a beginning and an end. With DLCs such as Beyond Light, The Witch Queen, and Lightfall, the story takes place all over the world's destinations. But for 90% of this campaign, you continue one line from start to finish. This makes the experience feel like more of a classic Halo campaign, for example. The narrative of how the surroundings and story come to the forefront while making the world building and free roam map-like aspects take a back seat. The biggest elephant in the room is the revive token, the very thing that plagued the campaign experience since Witch Queen. The only change is like 10 seconds added to the wipe timer. Why do they feel like Legendary need to have raid mechanics? That's not the only thing raid like in the fucking campaign. Symbols similar to the Val Disciple raid came into play early in the campaign and stuck around until the second to last boss of the campaign. Though it is interesting, if you fail to match the symbols, you have to repeat the encounter, painting out the shit gameplay wise, which is bad. But yes, it is good for adding difficulty to the experience. But this is a very, Five Nights at Freddy's like approach, where Legendary redoing encounters is already often enough. There are usually two symbols, meaning taking down two of one the new enemy type, the Subjugator, whose weakness is, ass backwards I guess. The Strand Subjugator is weak to Strand, and the Stasis Subjugator is weak to Stasis. In terms of weakness, you'd think it'd be the opposite. Element damage would put out more DPS on them, but like many other mobs in the game, it's not apparent enough. For example, did you know Atheon from Brawl to Glass is weaker to ability damage compared to weapon damage? Not convinced? Crota takes more sword damage compared to all damage. Kaido's Nightmare has a bigger critical multiplier compared to the Divinity Bubble applying its debuff. All this is like basic MMO bullshit. Like mobs will have secret weaknesses, especially in raids of dungeon. But in my unprofessional shit seeker opinion, the campaign should at least notify one of the main mob's weaknesses, so you don't sit there and DPS the same Subjugator for 10 minutes longer than needed. While we're talking about new mobs, let's look at the new enemy faction, from flying enemies to gladiator-like husks. They filled every role of a new faction, but one question remains though. This is a witness-shaped like army. What happens to this faction when there's no witness? You can say that for the Scorn and the Taken as well. I guess you assume they go to the next in charge in terms of darkness, although that's going to be answered in the new episodic story content, which we are omitting from this review. For mission-specific mechanics in the Mission Temptation, you move a dial with Scion energy. In Exegius, you balance light and dark energy. In some instances, there's a sandstorm taking health away. In the Luminality Strike, you dunk Aramkara energy to progress. And for several bosses, you use the Volta Glass Relic to initiate DPS phases. These mechanics are used throughout the campaign and give just enough variety for me not to bat an eye at it. I don't hate it, but I'm not all impressed by it either. This feels like they try to add some extra flavor to this meal. Some lettuce, some tomato. With the story being the meat, you can say Bungie has cooked here, although minorly. The main thing that has bothered me since the ending of Witch Queen is the return of Savathun. She returned in Season of the Witch, and occasionally messes with stuff in this DLC such as Queen missions. This whole debacle with Savathun just confuses me. She claims she wants to help us, but continues to blade barrage me. Why does Savathun blade barrage? I mean, she's a warlock technically. She Nova Bombs, she Nova Warps, and she Storm Trances. All warlock abilities. And yet she has a hunter one, which is Blade Barrage. Why? Anyway, even with the Friendly Hive Guardian as mentioned earlier, Savathun just doesn't care about that, making her alignment really confusing. Moving on, the main themes in this DLC are light and darkness, life and death. We see it talked about throughout the campaign with Targe, Zavala, Cade, and Sundance. I think these are important themes to explore since death and grief are something everyone in life experiences at one point or another. The final shape highlights the good things don't last forever, and that if they don't, fight for the good times to continue and not to lose hope. Once the good things in life do come to an end, then accept it. The wildcard mission is for an exotic sniper rifle that can be used as a gold gun as its own. You can explore this mission with Cade and Crow, as the witness forces are huffing excessive amounts of ether. There are many great moments with Cade and Crow, from setting up camp to fighting together and keeping score over comms, and a whole CGI cutscene for the exotic mission. The main thing Crow wanted was to be able to say sorry to Cade. He does just that in this mission. In turn, Cade offers the Vanguard harness spot for Crow. Crow says he'll think about it. It's a warm, heartfelt mission that was super needed for these two characters' intertwining stories. The last thing I want to mention before going into the ending of the final shape is the Prismatic subclass. It's a subclass that takes specific abilities from all other subclasses. Bungie handpicked certain grenades, powered melees, and even supers with the addition of a new super for each class. Just for example, the Hunter gets a teleporting arc knife, and it's great for ad clear and PvP. Throughout the DLC, there will be prismatic shielded enemies which require prismatic ability to break the shield. Now, if I remember correctly, you don't have to have prismatic on to do this. The gauge will build up when damaging the shielded enemy or in a prismatic well, although more slowly. If you have the prismatic subclass on, it does build up a lot faster. I haven't found a build that best fits my playstyle, but you can probably do a lot with prismatic. So after destroying the 3 statues in the darkness, the witness fell back to the raid and was defeated again, so he's having his last stand on this mission. This is good because the raid was so difficult. This way you don't have to compete in the raid to see the ending of the final shape. In the intro cutscene, Zavala rallies all the allies. Elixni, Cabal, Savathun, Exos, everyone is here. When they said Lightfall and Final Shape were like Infinity War and Endgame, they meant it. You then search for a total of 12 players to take back territory with NPCs such as Kaido, Savathun, and even Skur-V is here from the pirate season. Once you take back the land, you run into the Witness's last stand. You grab energy from Cracks of Light. Save 14 adds a bubble for you to protect you. If you pay attention, you see other NPCs cameos as well. You destroy statues and then DPS. You wash, rinse, repeat until all the statues are destroyed. If you die at final DPS, you miss out on the best hype moment though, which is negative points for me. You use your ghost to do like a Keyblade like light blast. Okay, Witness, you 46 head, time to meet your maker, bitch! Yeah! Yeah! The final cutscene then plays. Ghost uses all of his power and then dies. You're surrounded by the light. Cade walks up. He congratulates you. He explains what comes from the light must return to the light, like Sundance said. He makes his own fate. He starts using his light to revive the ghost. He says,
You're my favorite. Don't ever forget that.
Guardian. There you are.
and he's gone. Back at the tower, you walk up to the Vanguard leaders and you celebrate your victory. But after this cutscene, I hit an infinite load screen, so I had to replay the mission to see this ending. So, you see the after effects of your victory in the story-driven type cutscenes. You then sit and look at the Traveler with a quote from Bungie that translates to, "Thanks to you, we give." You hear a radio message detailing the future of the Guardian story, narrated by Crow. And that is the Final Shape DLC. Man, I feel kind of relieved, full, and empty at the same time. It is true that there's still 3 episodic story elements left in the game, but it does feel like they could have ended Destiny 2 here. Now, the day 1 release of the Final Shape was rough, plagued with server issues ruining the experience, making probably the worst launch for the DLC ever for Destiny 2. That, and accompanied by bugs for the final mission, such as infinite load screens, soured my taste. People say that this is the perfect DLC. I do like some of the things they did here, but I just can't agree. With network issues, ruining Zavala's character, and unnecessary raid-like mechanics in the campaign. Oh, and another thing, of people not getting the prismatic subclass unless you go back and complete a 40 to 60 minute mission solo to acquire it again. And not to mention the abysmal raid race. If I had to rate it, I'll make this a 7 out of 10. I did like the DLC, but it's not the craziest thing I've ever played. Yes, it concluded a 10-year saga, but I didn't even play Destiny 1. The only thing of Destiny 1 that I ever played was the beta. And frankly, I fucking hated it. But playing Destiny 2 since Shadowkeep kept me invested, and I'm glad I gave Destiny 2 a try and stuck with it up through until now. The Final Shape was good. The 10 out of 10s I feel are a bit exaggerated considering my past gripes. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Will you listen to me now? What is this plan that you and Chad are talking about? We are making you whole. What do you mean by making me whole?